I'm pissed, and you should be fucking pissed too. This is me destroying age verification policy in the US in less than 5 minutes. The three big pillars of age verification policy in the US right now are that we're going to keep kids safer, that we are going to make the internet a safer place, and that we are also going to be effective. This policy will be effective at doing those things. And here's why that is not true. We often run bills and legislation through the US to pass them under the guise that we are keeping kids safe. And here's why we are not keeping kids safe with this policy. When you just read the legislation, it sounds like ID verifying to see adult content makes sense. When I first heard that, it made sense to me too as an adult creator, but it's not accurate. When you go to an adult site like a Pornhub, for example, and you require an ID to access the content on that site, a couple of things are actually happening. One, when you ID verify with this third-party website, it has to verify your ID. And the way that it does that is by pinging the DMV, by pinging your employer, by pinging your bank or your lender to make sure your ID is a real and valid ID. While the third-party verification sites say that they will not keep your personally identifying information, it doesn't mean that the bank won't. It doesn't mean that your lender won't. Why that's important is that you could then be discriminated against when you go to get a home loan, when you go to open a bank account, or when you go to get a job. We say these things as adult creators because they happen to us when we ID verify on these sites to be able to upload them, to be able to make sure we are of age and consenting adults making this content, which we are good with. What we're not good with is the discrimination that follows, which consumers like you watching this are now going to feel the effect of. Not only is this policy not keeping kids safe, because when you go on these websites and they now require and ask for your ID, 95% of people aren't going to give it, which means they're going to then go to another website that doesn't require them to use an ID to access the content. Those websites, which are outside the US jurisdiction and US legislation, they will host terrible kinds of content. You know, the kind that we all worry about, like child pornography or rape porn or any kind of unethically, excusable kind of adult content that is on the internet will be on those sites because they do not have to meet the same standard as our websites here in the US do. So what you're really doing is driving users from a safe site where ethically made porn is to not safe sites where unethically made porn is being hosted. And I don't think that is what we are aiming to do, but that is what we are doing with policy as short-sighted as this. So not only are we not keeping kids safe, we are driving people to very, very bad kinds of content. And also, this policy just won't be effective. We've already seen it go live in Texas, and the only thing that it does is drive everyone to use VPNs to circumvent it. So it's not even useful to put in place. If we want to keep kids off of adult websites, we already have tools to do those things. We have parental controls on internet browsers. We have device controls on mobile and cell phones. And we have, parenting, which is what I think a lot of here needs to be done is actual parenting, not just asking the government or regulation to come in and do that for you. Now, I know that a lot of people watching this are going to think, I don't like those porn people, those adult industry people, the performers, the company owners, because they're just immoral and unethical and they have poor values. And even if you think the worst about the people in porn, the people with families and legitimate businesses doing legitimate work, even if you think the worst of us, we don't want kids on adult sites. They don't have credit cards to spend money. So even if you think the worst, just try thinking about it logically. And if you're wondering why I care so much about this and why it's so important that porn consumers understand this policy going through, is that it really affects and endangers them. The states that have already done this, that have already passed this policy, what you're seeing as a result is a ton of phishing scams pop up where people ID verify on the adult site and then the camera keeps rolling and records them doing all sorts of things that you would normally do on a porn site. And then they sell that identifying ID information alongside the very identifying explicit video of someone who thought they were in the safety of their own home doing things that are totally normal on the internet, on the dark web, on malicious sites geared towards and made specifically for extorting people. So if you think this policy is to keep consumers safe, it is actually putting you in a whole lot of risk. And you know what I think is most interesting? We have no way of knowing if the legislators who are passing these policies aren't already being extorted in this exact way. So I guess I'm angry because I'm in a state that is about to pass this policy. I am here in the good old state of Tennessee, and I am in danger of this becoming my reality. And furthermore, Tennessee takes the approach of really aggressively criminalizing porn to the extent of they want you to upload your ID every hour on the porn site, as if you get younger while watching porn. Imagine that. And they also want to criminalize anyone who makes pornography for 15 years. Even though it's legal work, legal in the US, and a legitimate business. So I guess I'm a little upset because this directly impacts me. And not only that, this is a fight that I didn't know I would be having and has now become very important to my survival, not only of my adult business, but of the other businesses I run, all of which pay an obscene amount of taxes to the state that I live in that is considering passing this policy. So I guess that there's just a lot for me at stake, and there's a lot for you at stake too. So maybe click the link in the description of this video and oppose the porn legislation policy that is going through in your state. It only takes a few clicks. It's age verification. It'll autofill most of the information for you, and it's a good use of your fucking time because you should be fucking pissed.